Today's project is 034 Stihl. Nothing wrong with this saw. It doesn't need rebuilt. I want to give it a little more horsepower. I want to try out some aftermarket components and see how they hold up. What I've got, it's a highway cylinder. I actually bought it used. Guy ran a couple tanks of gas and found an inexpensive steel cylinder and went ahead and replaced it. This piston is a Farmer Tech left over from another project. So I'm going to go through how to tear it down, how to put it back together. I'll make some timed cuts, see what kind of power we get, and then I'm going to pull it back apart, port it, and see what kind of time we get after that. And I'll just go through the whole process with you. Okay, start by going over tools that we're going to need just for disassembly. It's not much, nothing too special. This is fairly simple, so just quickly scrunch. You'll need this to get out the spark plug. Most of the fasteners are T27 Torx, so I've got a couple long T27 bit and handle that I use quite a bit for disassembly. Use that bit in the impact driver. Not necessarily good for reassembly, but very good for disassembly. And I'll go over some more of that later. I also have this hard ones to break loose. That's just an L handle T27. It used to come with the Stihls. I don't know if they do anymore. I don't mess with the new ones very much at all. Nice flathead screwdriver. This is a 3/16 tip, 1/4 inch is fine. I like the long one. And then to get the circlip off of the piston ring, I've got some different little poker pointers. Something like that will get the circlip off of there. Okay, start tearing it down. We're going to pull the plastics off first. So turn the knob, air cleaner cover. Let's get the air cleaner out of there. A couple of screws. I'm sure you guys aren't rebuilding your saw if you don't know how to get the air cleaner off, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. Spark plug wire, one screw holds the top cover on. So plastic's off, we'll set everything aside. Okay, 4 bolts for the starter. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't normally take the starter off if I'm just doing a top end, but here I think it's going to make it better for the video if I do. So 4 screws. Starter's off. Set it aside. Next is the handle, and it's just 2 screws here, 2 screws on the bottom here. Whoops. Handle comes off, set it aside. Muffler comes off next. 2 bolts get the cover off. Once those are removed, it hinges up. And then inside you've got 2 bolts also. These inside do have a couple of small washers on them, so make sure those don't get lost. Remove the muffler and the gasket, set that all aside. Okay, now we'll get the boot loose from the cylinder. You can see inside here there's 1 flathead screw, and that's just a like a hose clamp. Take that loose, get your finger around the other side, hold the clamp in place, and just loosen, 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 loosen. It's got to get pretty loose, and then you can just pop the boot. Free. just like that. Okay, now we'll get the spark plug out. Get ready to get the cylinder off all together. You've got 4 T27 Torx down inside of those holes that hold the cylinder on. This is definitely a nice place to use the impact driver. Get that engaged into the screw and just break them all 4 loose. Now we can lift the cylinder up. Get your fingers down underneath here to catch the piston. I just don't like it to slap loose onto something. Cylinder's off, we can set it aside. Okay, now we're going to get the circlip out. That holds in the wrist pin. So if you see this little cutout in the side of the piston right here, just get something pointy in there. Get it behind the clip and you can see it start to pry out. Now just put your finger over the whole hole. Be careful not to poke yourself. And just gently pry it out of there. Okay, now we're going to remove the wrist pin so we can take the piston off. This is just a 1/4 inch drive, 3 inch extension, fits really well. Go to the back side of the pin and you should be able to just pretty well press that wrist pin out of there. If it doesn't want to go, I'll use the handle of a screwdriver and just very, very gently tap it. And you can see it's coming out no problem now. Okay, you don't have to take it all the way out to get the piston off. As long as you're clear of one side, the piston comes right off. Take the bearing out of there, set it inside of the piston, set it all aside. Okay, at this point you can see what we've got inside of there. There is a gasket left on there. We can take that out, set it aside. Now I'm just going to clean all the dirt out of here. I mean, you cannot be clean enough doing one of these. Any kind of dirt that gets left in there gets in between the cylinder and the piston, and it will really cause some damage. And just to show you how important cleanliness is, you should be able to see a lot of scarring. You can hear it catch in there. What happened here was, this is one that I was doing some porting on and I forgot to clean it before I put it together. Completely destroyed a brand new cylinder. It's junk now, completely no good. Luckily, it's one of those $25 eBay specials, so not a big loss, but you know, if you're working on a $250 cylinder, it's done in a heartbeat just because you weren't clean. Okay, back again. Saw's all cleaned up, ready to go back together. Tools. This is the only real special tools that you need. This is a kit it's made by Husqvarna. You can get them on eBay, $10, $12, less than $15. A couple things you definitely need in here is this piston stop, and then there's this set of piston ring compressors in here. And we'll go over those as we use them here. Everything else is just the same tools that we've already used for disassembly. So let's take a look at some piston rings now. Okay, pistons and rings. These little 2-strokes, they run a pin in the ring groove there, and you see it covers half of the ring groove, and another pin over on this side, again covering half of the ring groove. And what that does is that keeps the rings staggered in the bore with one gap over here and one gap then over here. Those need to be staggered because that's going to help compression. If they were both lined up, even squeezed tight, you'd get you'd lose quite a bit of compression. The big thing though is you don't want those to end up in any of the ports inside of the cylinder. So if this ring was allowed to freely rotate around the piston, eventually this end would end up snagging inside of one of the ports, and you'd break the ring right off, ruin your jug, everything. So no good there. So let's put the rings on the piston now. Okay, let's get the rings on. So the you can see the half circle cutout in the top of the ring will line up into the pin here. So just kind of work these around the piston, something like that. Sometimes it helps to take a little pokey tool to dig that end back out of there. Get the bottom ring in like that. Okay, now let's work on getting the top ring in there. Same thing, I've got the groove to the top side here that'll engage that pin, and this one's real easy. Just working around there, snap it in. Okay, so now we can go ahead and throw the piston on the saw. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is get a little oil on this needle bearing. You know, a lot of guys say you have to use 2-stroke oil. That's transmission fluid. That'll work just fine. Get a little oil on there, slide that in there. Now at this point you're going to have oil on your fingers, so make sure that you don't touch anything gritty or dirty, because it'll stick to your fingers and it'll get all over everything. Okay, looking at the piston, I have the one clip in this side. The other side, the clip is out, and I've got the pin in but hanging out, so I can drop it over the rod like this, and then we're just going to push the pin through like that. Now that's on there. I'm just going to take this little 1/4-inch extension, make sure that pin is pushed all the way through. Now we'll work on getting the clip on it. Okay, time for my favorite part of the job. We're going to put this clip into the piston to hold the wrist pin in place. I'd like to tell you the easy way to do this right now. Unfortunately, I don't know what it is. Sometimes these things just drop right in like nobody's business, and sometimes there's just not enough swear words to even get the job done. The good news is, a lot of times if you drop it, there is a magnet on the flywheel and it'll stick to that magnet. Be careful, don't count on that magnet holding it. These things fly and disappear. Usually you just get started by working this point end into the groove first, and then kind of spin it around from there. I've had a lot of people say these aftermarket ones are easier. The factory ones are just a ring, and I can usually get those to just drop right in. I fight with these aftermarket ones a lot worse. So I'm going to get that in, and I'm going to come back. Okay. I had to rotate the saw around so I could get a better angle on it, but you can see I've got the pin just about in, and it's sticking out a little bit over there. So at this point, I'll take something like this 1/4-inch extension and try to push it in there, or you can find a 1/4-inch drive socket that's actually the right size, and it popped right in. And then kind of go around, push it, make sure that it's all the way into that groove. If your eyes are younger than mine, you can probably see whether or not it's in there. And this one is locked in. If that comes out, that'll ruin your day. It will ruin your piston, your cylinder, the whole works. So we don't want that coming out at all. Okay, right now I'm going to line the rings up to the pins like so. I'm going to get a gasket and some tools ready, and we'll go ahead and put the cylinder on this now. Alright, get the gasket on there. That just slides over the piston like so. Now from our little kit is this piston stop. That underneath there, and then bring the piston down, and I usually try to bring it forward so it gives me a little more room to drop the cylinder down. Take your cylinder, lubricate it. Again, this is just transmission fluid. Nice clean finger, spread it around in there. We'll set that guy aside, and now I'm going to lube the piston up real good. It's important to lube the piston up because you want your ring compressor to slide on it easily. So I'm going to get that lubed. I've got my little ring compressor. Just going to clean that up. Bring this piston back forward like I want it. Check the rings, they're still lined up to the grooves. Get the rings compressed. Now if you bring that compressor down just a little bit below the top of the piston, it's going to make this a lot easier for you. It's not hard anyways, but get it lined up, and that's it. Stop right there. Pull your ring compressor out. Try to pull your ring compressor out. Got a fighter. Okay. Ring compressor is out, and then we can go ahead and pull. Well, let's get that down a little bit more. Get that sitting down. Now at this point, we're going to want to put the bolts into the cylinder. Especially the back ones, because they are going to be a bear to get later if you don't do it now. I found it's easiest just to slip them all four in there right now. Okay, I'm going to pull the the piston stop out. And then at this point, we can really start to bring it down. Get the boot started on there. It can be a pain, but it'll go. You'll just feel it pop all of a sudden, just like that. Now, get it up just a little bit more. Bring that down. Now I've got to get in here and line the gasket up and make sure the bolts are in the hole. It's hard to see. I'll get it lined up and I'll come back. I'm sure you'll understand. You just need the gasket in the right place and the bolts actually going through the bolt holes in the gasket. So I'll make sure the gasket is good to go, and then we'll come back and tighten the cylinder down. Okay, I got the gasket all lined up. Just going to bring all four bolts down, just snug, maybe not even snug, just till they stop. Okay? And just go around in a circle. Get them all to where they stop. Go back. Tighten all four of them. And that's really all the tighter that they need to go. We can rotate around, make sure we're not hitting anything, or it's kind of a odd setup, so I'll probably check the squish on it after I'm done, and that'll probably be another video. But Now let's get the muffler back on it at this point. Alright, mufflers. Is, I guess, a difference between the older 034 and the newer 034, the 036 MS360 mufflers. As you can see, this one is quite a bit taller. So if you're putting an 036 cylinder onto your 034, this is a cheapo aftermarket muffler that I bought. There's also a guy on eBay that sells spacers, so you can go either way. The muffler was cheap, and I'm just going to cut it up and play with it anyways, so I went ahead and just went with the aftermarket cheapo muffler. Get the 2 bolts with the washers. Go ahead and put those in the holes inside of the muffler. Set the gasket on there, and then you can set the whole thing in here. And that's about the easiest way to do one of these. Get my big fat head out of the camera here, maybe. Okay, that just got that started. Now I can take my L handle, Torx. Snug that one up. Oops. Go ahead and just tighten that one. And then come back and tighten this one. Now the covers also have 4 bolts on the new ones, where the old one was hinged up at the top. This has got 4 bolts, so let me go get 2 more small bolts for the top. Okay, the 2 original long screws are back in the bottom, and then I've just got these 2 short ones that'll go into the top here. This is the last one, so the rest of them I just snugged down. And now I'm going to go back and tighten them. Doesn't take a lot. If you can find the head of the screw. There we go. Nice and tight. Then we can go ahead and get the starter back on it. Starter with all of the screws. Just pick the handle up there. It takes the special screw with the cup. And there's just 3 more screws. Go around, snug all 3 of them. Alright, last one we can tighten. Then go back and tighten the other 3. Easy peasy. Now let's get the clamp back on the cylinder. If you took it off, I'm sure you can put it back on. Just line the screw head up where you can reach it. Let's get the band in place. And then we'll just rotate it around and tighten it. So cut this part out. band is good and tight. Guess let's put the spark plug in it. Sure. Okay. She's got good compression. Should. It's practically new. Let's get the air cleaner back on it now, and then we'll throw the handle on next. Air cleaner, just like it came off, goes back on. Those don't need to be any kind of killer tight. Good and snug works. Handle and the 4 screws for it. Alright, we'll get this. Okay. 2 side screws. Now you can't go crazy tight on these. They are threaded into plastic. You can go good and tight, but you don't want to strip that out. You'll be trying to helicoil it, or I honestly don't know what else you would do. So always careful going into plastic on the saw. And that's just 2 screws in the bottom. Nice and snug. Alright, that's good. Okay, let's take a look at the top covers. Again, the older 034s a little different than the newer 034s and the 036s. This is my original 034 cover, and what you'll find is this rib is quite a bit taller on the 034. The 036 is low like this. This one I've already taken, ground it down. I just used a little die grinder and cut it. You can cut it with a razor knife, whatever. This fin sticks out further on the 036s. The 034, it went down below that. So something to take note of. You can always buy an 036 cover. This one's kind of yucky compared to mine. I just like the looks of mine better, so that's what I went with. Now, why is the rubber on the wrong side? Okay, rubber on that side. I don't know how that happened. And then the cover goes on just like it came off. There we go. Second time's the charm or something, I don't know. Snug that up. Spark plug on. Air cleaner cover on. And that's it. Put the chain back on. You'll have to do a tune. I'll probably do another video. I don't have a tachometer right now to really tune it right, but I'll do another video when mine comes in. And that's it. Your 034 is now an 036.